Okay, so I'm only going to talk about windows in when we're dealing with a fixed window. So I'm not going to deal with the parametrics of window families yet. And parametrics means if you want to plug it in so that it stretches based on whatever you type in. So I'm just going to make a fixed window as if we're making a window for that you've just measured up over there. So as with everything we're talking about today, it's a family. So I'm going to make a new family, and we want to make a metric window template. Okay, so if I open that up, if you open up a metric window, you get this view. So you get a kind of setup. You got a wall in the middle here, so we know where it is. We've got the outside, the exterior, and we've got the interior. If I go into a 3D view here, it looks like that. So it's just basically an opening in a wall. So that's our starting point. If I go again into the interior view, for example, we have some parameters that are set up, as in what's the sill height, what's the height of the window from the floor level, and what's the height of the window itself. And at the moment they're set to 800 and 1500. We can change that by coming in here and modifying the parameters. And well, let us just do that straight away. Let's just try this 1800. Yeah, it's letting us do it straight away. So you can change the overall dimensions of your window before you even start drawing the window by coming up here into family types and modifying the height and the width parameter. Okay. So I would change those to the overall dimensions of any windows that you've measured up to the outside of the frames. So then we want to make a very simple window. So we just make an extrusion effectively. So let's say, I'm just trying to think, let's make something that's along the lines of a window with some glazing bars in it. And I'm going to make a very simple one, so I'm not going to worry too much about the modeling of the glazing bars. I'm just going to assume they're all kind of square because I don't want to complicate it too much at the moment. So let's set up, first of all, some model lines that we can use as references. So I'm going to draw a model line at the bottom here. And then I'm going to use the array tool to divide the height of the window equally. So I press array. It's asking me to select what I want to array, and then something's gone doolally. Where's my options? Let me just try that again. Array. There we go. So we can group the array. We can choose the number of divisions. So let's say we wanted to have a window that has 4 panels in it. So we need to divide it. We need to use 5 guidelines, and we can actually choose the last point for the final guideline, like that. Oh, sorry. Let me do that again. So we go 5, move to last, and then we take it from here all the way up to the last point, and it divides the entire area equally. We'll just press enter there. So now we know what this window divided into 4 exact panels is. Okay. So we can use those guidelines to set up the windows. So let's just ungroup them, and we can just drag them across as necessary, or we could have just drawn them straight away, but never mind. So let's also take a center line. So I'm going to make a model line running down the middle here, like that. And so the idea being is that we have now a window that's going to be divided into 8 panels. Okay. So the easy way to do this now is probably to give some values for the widths of these glazing bars. So let's assume the glazing bars are around about 15 millimeters wide. So I'm going to use the offset command, I'm going to change this to 7.5, which is half of 15. And let's just offset all these guidelines until we get the right setup. Okay, everybody with me? No answer, perfect. Okay, let's go. So then, the easy thing to do is just to start setting up an extrusion. So I'm going to start drawing an extrusion, solid extrusion. I'm going to draw a rectangle, and the rectangle is going to be the outside of the frame. So I'm going to draw it from here to here. And once you do that, you kind of it's not so important when you're not going to change the size of the window, but it's good practice to get into is that you actually lock the edges to these reference lines here, because later on when we start making windows that we can give parameters to, you want them to follow these reference lines, because it's the reference lines that will move and everything else follows beyond them. So what I'm going to do is select this. I'm going to select a line, and I'm going to align it to the reference line here, like that, and lock it in place. And I'm just going to go around doing that with all the lines like this.
And that also automatically divides the space of the when you stretch it, or just the outer lines?
No, it won't. But I'm not going to get into that today because it's just a level of complexity that we're not at yet. That has to do with fixing the dimensions. But I'm going to do a whole 3 weeks on how to do all that stuff as well, for different reasons. Okay, so we've locked the outside of the frame to the reference line. So now we want an inner side of the frame. So let's assume the frame is 50 millimeters. So I'm going to use the offset command again, and we're going to change it to 50 millimeters. We're going to copy it, and let's just offset that one and offset that one. And I think that's enough for the moment. So let's just trim those together. And I'm going to use the pick lines tool to pick the other side of this individual panel here, and then trim that as well. So now we've made one panel. So we should be able to just take those inner lines and use the mirror tool to mirror it from here to here. And we can take the mirror tool again and we can mirror it downwards as well if we take the center line here. Okay. So now we've just left with the rest of them. So let's just copy some of these lines up as quickly as we can. I'm going to copy this from here to here. Oh, I moved it. Whoops. Did it again. It's difficult coming back after summer, isn't it? So let's align this to this. We don't need to lock that in place at yet. And while we're still here, we'll copy this one up. And again, we can select, let's select, okay, let's just do it. How do we do this? Let's do it now. Let's just mirror again, so we'll do it one by one. Mirror. And mirror. Maybe I shouldn't have chosen such a complicated, anyway, never mind. Okay, so we've kind of set up the basis of it now. So if we have these pink lines that are outlining the extrusion. And over here we have the depth of the extrusion. So we can start the extrusion at 0, and we can decide how deep we want to extrude it. At the moment it's 250 millimeters. It'd probably make more sense if it was around about 75, just as a kind of a diagram of a window. So I just accept that. And in 3D view, then we have something like that. Okay, so you can see it's kind of, it doesn't have all the quality of a window like this, because I'm doing it as a kind of a basic way of doing it. The way you would do it if you wanted to get all the quality in there is you would have to make profiles for each individual glazing bar, and you would make, what do they call it, sweeps for the individual elements. But this is a good way to start off, because it's much simpler, and it gives you a little bit of clarity. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is, first of all, I'm going to go into the reference level and check what plane we've put it on. So we can see that it's locked to the outside of the wall here. So I'm just going to disassociate it from the work plane there and move it more or less to the center line of the window here. And so we can now, if we go back to the 3D view, it's kind of halfway within the wall there. Now we still have these guidelines in here. So we can select that model, and we can give it a material over here, or we can give it a parameter like we did yesterday. I can add a parameter and say frame material. Whoops, god damn it. Frame material. And it's grouped under materials and finishes. Once we put that parameter in, it means that when you insert the window into your overall project, you have the option to change the frame material in the overall project. That's okay. And now we can go into the interior view or the exterior view again, and now we can make some glass. So we can either make the glass by doing a extrusion for each individual panel, or we can take a shortcut and just make an extrusion for the entire panel at once, like this. Give it a material. We're making a material parameter. Let's add a parameter, and we'll call this glass material. That's okay. And let's make that 20 millimeters. Apply. Accept. And once again, we go to the reference level and make sure we have it on the right plane. So I'm going to disassociate it from this plane and move it. We'll move it into place over here. So now we should be able to just delete all these guidelines like that. I'm going to save it as a family, put it on the desktop. I'm going to call it assembly window. And if I load it into the project, then it just turns up, and we can just put it in place like that. So it comes in like this. Then we have the option to edit the type, and we can change the material to whatever we want. Let's change it to whatever comes up first. I don't know, let's just find something. Let's just change it to glulam. And we can change the glass material to some kind of glass, and press OK. So it's kind of a basic way to set up a window. But if I was to modify this now and change the width of it, if I edit the type here and I change the width to, let's say, 3500, it stretches. But it doesn't necessarily stretch in the correct manner that we want it to. So all those things to do with parametrics and so forth. Let's see what happens if I stretch it up. I'm going to get into in later lectures. You see what I mean? It doesn't maintain the equality of the panels. So that's another step that we need to get into. But if you're dealing with an existing building, you're not going to modify it anyway. You just need to have a solid piece, and that's it. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. Of course, you can add as much detail as you want. You could make 2 extrusions, so you have one opening section and one closing section, and so forth. But that's it's all the same process again.